Welcome back to Crunch Time, a panel discussion about your favorite topic, sports.
Drew Brees is not a top 10 quarterback in NFL history. It's simple as that. How do you say that? Drew Brees, you cannot argue with stats.
And I know for a fact it's going to be the best team in the East. It is the Toronto Raptors because of Drew Kawhi Leonard.
I'm going to talk about another team that I want to be a Cinderella story so bad, and that's UCF. I talked about it earlier. They're ranked 12th in the nation. They beat Auburn last year in their bowl game.
It's Crunch Time.
Hello and welcome back to Crunch Time, a panel discussion about your favorite topic, sports. I'm your host, Alexis Pearson. Alongside me on the panel tonight is Blake Tyson, Nick Speliopoulos, and Parker Kaiser. Guys, a lot has happened in the sports world recently. Are you guys ready to get right into it?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Right away.
All right, let's talk about the NFL draft a little bit. It saw a lot of fireworks as many teams made impressive moves that can help their teams right away. The Denver Broncos traded back and picked up Iowa tight end Noah Fant, and then later in the third round drafted quarterback Drew Lock out of Missouri. The Jaguars were fortunate to have linebacker Josh Allen fall to them at number 7, and the Redskins were also liked as they were able to draft quarterback Dwayne Haskins and Montez Sweat in the first round. So guys, in your eyes, who were the winners of the draft? What do you think, Blake?
Well, a couple teams that you mentioned in the open right there. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially in the first two rounds, had Josh Allen fall right to them at number 7 it was, and then they traded up into the early part of the second round to get Jawan Taylor, who some mock drafts had them taking at number 7 overall. So I think the draft just played out really well for them. Another team I really liked, Washington. Haskins, I think, in my opinion, was the best quarterback in the draft. Fell to them. He won't have to start right away if they don't need him to. Montez Sweat was an absolute steal. Bryce Love in the fourth round was pretty good, and Terry McLaurin in the third round was a wide receiver at Ohio State, who I think instant chemistry already with Dwayne Haskins, so I like what the Redskins did.
I have to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially in the first round. They're not known for trading up to get the pick that they want. The last time they did that was in 2003 when they traded up to draft Troy Polamalu. They did that this draft. They drafted Devin Bush. He is a great player. He's going to fill that hole of Ryan Shazier, who went down with a horrific injury, and he missed all of last season. They also got cornerback Justin Lane from Michigan State in the third round. He was, some people said he was going in the first round. So I think Steelers had an overall draft which was really good, and they got a receiver in Deontay Johnson who can replace Antonio Brown.
Parker?
I think the Bills are actually the biggest winner because they drafted Ed Oliver, who doesn't fit in most schemes, but they fit in the Bills scheme. And then Corey Ford, who was an offensive line. They need the offensive line in Buffalo, or else, whoever their QB is, whoever will be Josh Allen, will run around. And then they drafted a running back, Devin Singletary, who will help with LaShawn McCoy out of Buffalo. It'll help that running back situation. And then they needed the tight end, which they drafted later in the round. So I think they're the biggest winners, surprisingly.
So who got the biggest steal in the draft?
I think Montez Sweat at 26 was a steal. I think Ed Oliver is going to be dominant.
Haskins was
yeah.
I saw a big board that had Montez Sweat, like a consensus big board of like 50 big boards that had him 10th overall. To get him 26th.
The tough thing with Montez is he's got a heart problem, so that's a little
Yeah, but
iffy,
some teams said that it wasn't, that a heart issue was a false thing.
All right.
A lot of teams did a good job.
All right, that's all we got for the first round. I'm going to give the first point of this episode to Nick. I kind of like how he talked about the Steelers taking some risks. So Nick gets the first point of the day. And with many winners comes losers of the draft. The Giants got the most attention with taking quarterback Daniel Jones early when many thought they could have gotten him later. And they also took defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence at 17. The Raiders drafted Clelin Ferrell at number 4, and that might have been a little too early. They also drafted the first running back, Josh Jacobs, later in the first round. So guys, who's the loser of the draft? Nick?
The absolute easy answer for this is the New York Giants. New York, Gettleman, why did you take Daniel Jones at 6 overall? You could have taken him with the 2 other picks you had in the first round. This doesn't make any sense. Haskins was supposed to go to New York. That's what every mock draft said, and I get that we're not the people that make those decisions, but Daniel Jones is not going to be your franchise quarterback, and especially after you traded away Odell Beckham Jr., you have signified with the trade and the pick that you have set yourself in rebuild mode for a long time.
Yeah, I would second that, but I'm going with the Raiders just to have a different view. They need a lot of help on the defensive side of the Raiders and on the offensive side, but you draft a running back, someone who won't help protect the QB only like 5 times a game maybe, that doesn't help your offensive line, and that doesn't help your franchise QB and Carr if you want him to succeed. You don't help your team if you don't draft what you need.
All right, Blake?
Yeah, I think the easy answer is both those teams with each of them having 3 first-round picks in teams that are obviously in rebuilding situations and never really going best player available. But I'm going to come in with a team that's, to me, a kind of a sleeper loser, I guess, if you want to word it that way, and that's the Detroit Lions. Taking T.J. Hawkinson at number 8 overall. I love T.J. Hawkinson. He's a player that I think is going to be a really good pro, but like the Lions, they should have gone best, or like the other teams, the Lions should have gone best player available, and I don't think that was Hawkinson at the time. I think it was Ed Oliver. I think Tavai was a massive reach in the second round. I don't, like, they had some decent picks in the later rounds, but they never really got good value for anybody, and they reach on some guys early on, and so to me it was just, for a team that struggles, you need to take best player available.
And the Lions are hoping that he will become the new Gronk for them.
Yeah, in which he's drawn comparisons to, and the NFL has become such an offensive game. It doesn't matter how well your defense is. It's all about the points you put on the board. And I feel like the Lions made the right choice, and they didn't have a terrible draft because they were able to get Hawkinson at 8.
All right. That's all we got for that one, although it might be kind of an obvious point here. I'm going to give this one to Nick again because I think with the Giants making that choice, not the best, and with what happened with OBJ, they could have done something a little different. So here we go into the big crunch. We're hitting it early again. It wasn't the same quarterback class that we had last year, but there were still many intriguing names for this year's class. Players at the top like Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, and Dwayne Haskins led the class, but there are others later like Drew Lock going to the Broncos and the Panthers selecting Will Grier. So which quarterback do you guys think will have the best career? Will it be one of the big names, or is someone that no one's even talking about going to make the news here? Remember that, there's a lot of different ways that this could go. So what do you think, Parker?
Well, I think Dwayne Haskins will probably have the best career out of at least the first round. I mean, second round is basically just backups. But Dwayne Haskins had a 70% complete percentage at Ohio State, which Big Ten is not really known for defense, but it's still a great stat to have if you're a QB, especially in your first year. And then you had almost close to 5,000 passing yards, which is kind of incredible with the different schemes and probably different wide receivers. And then you had 50 touchdowns on Ohio State. Words are hard right now, but on an Ohio State team that is very offensive, and it's kind of surprising that he dropped so far down because, Jones had a worst year at Duke, only scoring 1 touchdown during his last game against a 1-11 Wake Forest.
All right, Blake?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think Haskins, in my opinion, he was the best quarterback prospect coming out. I think, though, that if everything lines up right, I think Kyler Murray can have a really good career. Now, hear me out. Everything's got to line up right, and I'm not a big fan of Kyler Murray, but if Cliff Kingsbury runs the offense that he wants to run and goes 5 wide or 4 wide receiver sets, they have got some very good playmakers on the outside for Kyler Murray to deal with. Okay, they drafted Andy Isabel in the second round and Hakeem Butler in the third. And Hakeem Butler, by the way, was a steal of the draft. And then they add that receiver talent to Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk. They have 4 very good receivers. Now, it's tough to run college-style offenses where it's up-tempo because depth guys are going to get tired.
Right.
But I think that he's got a chance.
Nick?
And I have to go with the quarterback that went to Denver, Drew Lock. He's going to be put in a really good situation. He definitely fell, and that wasn't encouraging for him, but if I'm telling myself that Drew Lock is going to have success, it's because they got the other Iowa tight end in the first round, which they traded up to get, which is a great move by John Elway. They got Noah Fant, and the Broncos haven't really had a crazy good receiver or a target for them to throw to. Fant will bring an energy to that offense that will give Locke success, and Locke has the potential to start on day one. So, especially when you pair him with John Elway knew what he was doing when he wanted to pick his quarterback for the franchise. Joe Flacco's not your guy. They found out Case Keenum was not their guy either. I think that Drew Lock has the longest, arguably most successful career out of this rookie quarterback class.
Murray. Look
Look,
at the Cardinals team. They got rid of Rosen after 1 year.
I know, but the new head coach comes in and he wants to run a college-style offense. I'm just saying, if the stars align right, it could be a big-time boom.
It could be a big-time boom, but it could be a big-time failure.
It could be, but we're saying that with all these guys. Drew Lock was a second-round pick. Dwayne Haskins.
Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick.
Yeah,
Okay,
come on.
I'm just saying Dwayne Haskins was a 1-year starter. I mean, all these guys have their flaws. I'm just saying, if Cliff Kingsbury's offense works in the NFL like he hopes it does, Kyler Murray's the perfect quarterback to run that up-tempo, college-style spread offense, and the offensive weapons are there for him. They've got David Johnson in the backfield, too, which is going to alleviate pressure as a rookie.
I mean, the
I'm just
Redskins,
saying.
until Smith got injured, they were the #1 team in the East and probably a front runner for the NFC.
But is Haskins ready to start right
All
away?
right, Parker, you're going to have to air this out with Blake after the show. I'm going to give the points for the big crunch to Blake. I think he made a good argument for Kyler Murray. So Blake gets the final points of this round. And then coming up after the break, we discuss the NBA semifinals and the NHL second round of the playoffs. Crunch Time, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Crunch Time. If we're giving points based on energy, Parker would be winning after the first round. But unfortunately for Parker, we're giving points based on good arguments, which means that Blake and Nick are tied with 2 points each right now. Parker's still looking for his first one. But we got plenty topics left to go. We'll get right into the NBA here as it's in the first games of the second round. And it's pretty interesting with Milwaukee and Boston tight, as well as Toronto and Philadelphia. Kawhi Leonard has been balling out this series, and Joel Embiid has struggled with the flu and a sore knee. On the west side of things, we've got the Warriors, who've taken a commanding 2-0 lead versus the Rockets. Golden State has been flexing all over Houston, as well as Kevin Durant, who has been putting on a show. A lot of action left in the second round, but what are your guys' takeaways so far? What do you think, Blake?
Well, I'm just going to get this out there. I'm not a fan of James Harden and the Rockets complaining. I liked Chris Paul until he was a Rocket. So I'm loving this Warriors 2-0 start. I cannot believe the news that came out this week that the Rockets filed an audit with the league. So I love it because I think it's funny because I'm not a fan of James Harden. On the other side of things, I love what's going on in the Eastern Conference. Both these series are going to be interesting. The Sixers with Joel Embiid's injuries, can he stay healthy? Because if he can, I think that's what's going to keep them competitive in that series. And Bledsoe and Chris Middleton in Game 2 played that complementary role to Giannis Antetokounmpo very well.
Nick?
2 things. If anybody's seen Ben Simmons lately, let me know, because he's been in the closet in his hotel room. He scored 20 points in the combined first 2 games of that Toronto-Philly series. If Philly wants to have any chance of winning the series, Ben Simmons, you got to wake up. You got to score points, because Joel Embiid is not doing too well health-wise, and Jimmy Butler isn't the guy to carry your team. Secondly, Denver. Wow. Dame time over. Denver, you have absolutely obliterated Portland. That loss is feeling Yusuf Nurkic's absence hardcore. Denver wins this series.
Parker?
I'm on the same boat as Blake, where I hate the Rockets, so I'm happy the Warriors are ahead in the series, and I see them being an easy sweep. Bucks are a big, if Antetokounmpo actually shows up for a game, it's basically a game winner for the Bucks. Celtics probably don't have a chance. 76ers, as Nick said, they need people to show up other than Butler. And yeah, I mean, the East is more competitive right now than it seems in the West, which is very surprising because it's usually the West more competitive than the East. But I mean, it's going to be a shape out to be a great playoffs no matter what.
Yeah, I think it's been super interesting. And to add to my point about Giannis, I mean, he got to the free throw line 18 times in Game 2. Okay, I was going to say Celtics, but nobody in the league really has an answer for him. But
Brad Stevens is going to have the best chance
Brad
to do it.
Stevens is a great coach. He would be the one guy.
All right, that's all we got for that round. I'm going to give this point to Nick. I think he made a good point about some of the individuals who need to step up and lead their team. So now we'll move into hockey. Just like basketball, the second round of this has been interesting as well. The Sharks are leading the Avalanche 2-1. My John Tortorella Columbus Blue Jackets are leading Boston 2-1. Carolina is up on the Islanders 2-0. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. How are you guys feeling about the second round so far? What are you expecting to see here? What do you think, Nick?
Wow, look at Carolina. If you would have told me that Martinook, Svechnikov, Fairland, and Van Riemsdyk all were hurt going into the series, that they had any chance, I wouldn't have given it to Torts and the Islanders. The Islanders would have taken this. If that's not the case, obviously Carolina has the 2-0 lead. And then the Blue Jackets. If you would have told me what would have taken the Blue Jackets out of the playoffs, I would have sent Bobrovsky, but he has improved. The Blue Jackets are scoring almost 4 goals a game, and his goals against average in this Stanley Cup playoffs is 1.88. Bobrovsky, Columbus Blue Jackets, I got to tip my cap to you.
All right, Parker?
I have to tip my caps to the bunch of jerks down in Carolina because they
You went there.
they are the team that everyone should be careful of because right now they're riding a hot streak. As he said, there's been a bunch of people, Stahl and Forgale, hard name, sorry, my bad, have nine goals with 10 others who have scored more goals. And I think Blue Jackets are really the big surprise. I mean, they've swept the President Cup winners right there, and they're keeping Boston in a pretty good spot right now. So I think those two are the two teams to watch out for.
Blake?
I mean, every series has been fantastic so far, and you guys have kind of touched on it all. I'm loving the Blue Jackets-Boston series, 3 one-goal games, 2 overtime games, tons of fun. Like you guys have talked about, who expected Carolina to be here? A 2-0 lead, and it still is a close series. I think the Islanders can get back in it, but they're up 2-0 going home. So that's, I mean, just what a great story, especially with people calling them a bunch of jerks. And I mean, to me, this is why the NHL playoffs are the best playoffs of any sport, because you get competitive play for 4 rounds, and we talked about it last week. Parity. I mean, that is what makes this league so much fun.
But I have to say, San Jose is riding a hot streak after their comeback after Golden. They'll definitely win the series, but I don't know if they'll beat out. Why am I blanking out on who they'll face? Avalanche. They will beat the Avalanche handily. I think Avalanche don't have enough power to.
Yeah, I think I
that.
agree. The Avalanche, outside of the one line with McKinnon and Rantanen, and is Landeskog back? I haven't watched a whole lot of that
Yeah.
series, but
All
outside
right.
of the one line, yeah.
That's all we got for that one. I'm going to give this point to Nick. I liked how he talked about some of the injuries Carolina's faced and Bobrovsky finally putting on a show here in the playoffs. So we'll move on to our last topic of this round. We're just about a month into the MLS season with a lot of fireworks. But I want to talk about Minnesota United. They sit at a 4-3-2 record. That's good for 6th in the West. But the Loons were able to sign a couple big names in free agency, but it's just been a slow start to kick off the season. So where did the flaws lie for Minnesota United, and do you think these problems will continue? What do you think, Nick?
It's
Oh,
I
Parker,
will
sorry.
start.
Parker's going to
So I think the flaws are actually them actually converting their scoring chances. I mean, their only game that they were held to no goals, they had a bunch of scoring chances but could not convert against the number 2 LA Galaxy. But their defense has been improved immensely after last year with the signings of Ike Opara from Sporting KC and Ozzie Alonso from Seattle, which I was worried about when they signed him because he has a passive injuries. So I'm happy that he's actually taking the captain's band now for the United. But I mean, I'm not worried. I think they sit perfectly in the standings.
All right.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, they added a couple of veteran free agents, and I think it takes some time to build chemistry and to get things going. But I'm actually the opposite way, Parker. I mean, I think that in 4 out of their 5 losses or ties, they've given up 3 goals or more. Yeah, they've struggled to score the past couple games, but a lot of their losses is because they've given up too many goals. So you've got to play better in net. You got to keep the ball out of your own net, in my opinion.
All
I got
right,
this, Parker.
Nick.
I'm sorry, but the defense is the one thing on the Loons that has to stay the same.
Yeah.
You have Metanire, Opara, Kallman, and Miller. They are the anchors on that back line. Keep in mind, Metanire was named to the MLS Team of the Week against his performance against DC, and they've played the best team in the East, and they played the 2 team in the West, and they blanked them. Why? It's that defensive back line, not to mention Metanire played in France in Ligue 1, which has a lot of notable teams like PSG, and he's taken that experience that he had in France, brought it back to the States, and he's not only using it for himself, but he's bringing it to the whole team.
Okay, that's great,
Yes,
but
but-
how do you explain giving up 3 or more goals
Okay,
in
Toronto,
4
they got
games?
2 bad
Four
red
of-
cards that cost them the game. Honestly, it should have been a win for United, but
Okay,
they,
that's 1. You still have 3 other games where you've given up 3 or more goals.
yes, okay,
I mean,
the Revs, they should have won.
yes,
Honestly,
the
Revs
defense
have.
has played good in some games, like you mentioned, the two shutouts, but
But now that
they've
they've
had
finally
their struggles
figured out
as well.
Calvo is not the right fit for
There's-
this team, they have the right defensive scheme.
Calvo
okay?
needs to stay on the bench, and the one thing I will say is it's been a slow start for the Loons,
All
but
right.
there's still a lot of season to play.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, Parker, your energy teamed up with your good points this time is going to get you a point. So Parker gets his first of the game here, and coming up after the break, baseball phenom Vlad Jr. has taken the stage in Toronto. The Twins are off to a hot start. Can they keep this going? We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Crunch Time. We got Nick in the lead with 4 points, Blake behind him with 2, and Parker with 1, and we got the cameraman arguing with us now too. We're going to have to move on from soccer, though, into baseball. We're just a month into the baseball season, baseball's most exciting prospect since Bryce Harper has been called up to the Toronto Blue Jays. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the son of Hall of Famer Vladimir Guerrero, has taken the stage in this show with a ton of hype on the train, and he has plenty to live up to with his dad winning an MVP and being enshrined in Cooperstown. We've seen the home runs this kid has hit, but do you think he can be better than his dad? What do you think, guys?
I think it's not fair to try to draw a comparison to his dad. I mean, he's 20 years old. His dad broke in the league at 21, so, okay, they both came in the league about the same time, but his dad's a Hall of Famer. He's in Cooperstown. I mean, it would be great, and he's got the potential to get there, certainly. I think the only thing that's fair to compare between the two is their career minor league numbers, which are about the same. His dad hit 346 with 201 RBIs and 50 home runs in about 300 games, and Junior hit 331 with 209 RBIs and 44 home runs in about 300 games. So coming into the majors, the numbers look similar, and the potential is certainly there.
Nick?
He's had the hype for rookie hitters, draws comparisons to rookies like Bryce Harper, A-Rod, Ken Griffey Jr. like Blake said, 331, but he drew more walks than he did striking out in the minors, and he's got what it takes. He, as a scout, had 80 out of 80 on his hitting skills. Mike Trout had a 70, and Bryce Harper had a 60. He's got the bats. He knows what it takes. And his dad even said in an interview, when I met my son, I gave him my name, but I didn't know I gave him his swing.
Parker?
I have to agree with all three of them. I mean, will he be better than his dad? Definitely not. I mean, I don't think Griffin Jr. was better than Ken. Yeah, never mind. Forget that point. But I mean, Junior. I mean, the major league is way different than the minors, as you saw. I mean, Tim Tebow is not the direct comparison, but he's the first person that came to mind when he went to a spring game for the Mets and was horrible but he was perfect in or somewhat great in the minor league. But yeah, he'll be great.
Baseball,
but not best.
baseball is one of those sports where you can. Baseball is probably the best place to project your stars in the future. That's why it takes 8 years to get a guy. Not 8 years. Takes five-ish years to get a guy into the majors. I mean, the whole city of Toronto was standing on their feet when he picked up a foul ball. Like, come on.
They haven't had
just
much
gonna
to cheer
say,
there.
Byron Buxton tore up minor league baseball, and until this year, he hasn't hit above 250 in his career. It's hard to project.
But at the
it's
same time,
Major league pitching is 10 times different than minor league pitching.
Yeah.
All right, that's all we got for that one. I'm going to give this point to Blake. I like how he said that it's kind of hard to compare, but that there is potential. So Blake gets the point for that one. And we'll wrap up this season of Crunch Time with just one more final topic. Crunch Time host Alexis Pearson, that's me, is finishing up her illustrious career at UTVS, putting in 5 years of highs, lows, laughs, coffee, and of course SpongeBob references. Now we know there's a lot to choose from here, guys, but what is your most iconic or favorite Alexis moment?
You know, if we can just take a look at that graphic right there. All-time UTVS leader in coffee drink. You know, I think that one's probably the most true. Alexis, my memories with you have gone back to when I came in as a freshman. Just when I was a sports anchor and you were my producer, going to get coffee with you guys, and it didn't seem like there was a day where we didn't have some form of SpongeBob going on in the newsroom, and if we didn't, something was wrong. Alexis, I really can't. I mean, I wish I had more time to say thank you for everything you've done for me and for everybody here at UTVS and Crunch Time. We're really gonna miss you.
Oh,
Parker?
Alexis, there's so many great memories of you watching you guys edit Meg and drooling over all the hot guys that came in for the interviews. I mean, oh God, this is hard for me. But you brought so much joy into the UTVS newsroom. You brought joy to me every day when I'd been having a bad day and was grumpy as heck. Like, you're the brightest part of UTVS right now. And
Oh my gosh.
we'll all miss you, honestly.
Blake, please don't make me cry any more than I already am.
Trying to keep it together here. Alexis, I didn't really know you a whole lot until this year for Crunch Time when you started hosting, and I've loved all of our random debates and run-throughs before, or just anything that we talk about before the show, whether it's Austin Matthews and how hot he is, or whether it's seeing all of the videos Maya has of you on her Instagram and doing the most random things in the world. It's been a joy to get to know you over the past few years, and I speak for all of us, we're definitely going to miss you.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, please don't put a mid shot on me right now because my makeup looks horrendous. I'm going to just give it, thank you for that. I'm just going to give everybody a point for that one because that was incredible. You guys are amazing. Coming up after the break, I'll tell you who your winner is. And we're back. We've dried our tears, and it's time to announce that Nick Speliopoulos is our winner of today's episode. But we wanted to keep all the guys on for the last show of the year. But Nick, the floor is yours. What would you like to talk about?
Well, in the last topic, I wish I had more time, and I got just that. So break out the Kleenex box again.
No.
Alexis, I mean, we really just can't stop talking about everything that you've done for us, and it doesn't just limit here to Crunch Time. It's Mag and everything else at UTVS. You've been such a help to especially a lot of the underclassmen. You've been such a good friend to everybody at UTVS. The laughs, the jokes, we're definitely gonna miss you, and I can't wait to see you go off into this world and do amazing things because you've shown that you can do it here, and I have no doubt in my mind that you can do it outside of St. Cloud State.
All right, I guess that's the perfect way to wrap it up. From all of us here at Crunch Time and signing off for the last time of my career, I'm Alexis Pearson. Thanks for tuning in.